Hey everyone, Varun here. Today's video is going to be a big one. I've been an Android user for a very long time, 15 plus years, and today I would like to share my experience of moving from Android to iPhone and what's been my experience and whether it was easy or not, and whether I'm actually happy or not. Did I make the right decision? Let's find out. Let's start this video by talking about all the positives of moving to an iPhone. The Android phone of my choice, which I have been using for years and years, was from Samsung, of course. I used the S8, S9, then I also used the Note series, and then finally the S21 Ultra. And even though Android is a solid platform and it's extremely customizable and people love it, I had one major issue with it, and that was the most frustrating factor why I chose or even thought about moving to iPhone. And that is, of course, battery life. I have to tell you, Apple is just killing it with their battery life. The last Android phone that I used was the S21 Ultra. And trust me, the battery life on that phone is also great. It's nowhere near the battery life that you get on the iPhone. With my Samsung S21 Ultra, I would start my day with 100% charge. And no matter what I did, I could not get through the day. I always had to recharge my phone sometime in the middle of the day, like maybe 3 p.m., 4 p.m., because the juice literally started running out. It would touch the lower 40s or late 30s in the battery percentage. That was really annoying because I didn't want to focus all my time and energy on just saving battery life. That's not what I wanted for my device, and I was extremely unhappy about it. The year that I decided to move from Android to iPhone was when Apple released the iPhone 13 Pro Max, and that phone had an impressive battery life. When I read all the reviews and I finally decided to buy one, I did my research on the phone and I was, of course, skeptical moving to an iPhone for good, like ditching my experience on Android phones for the past 15 years and picking up a new platform and making it my daily driver. It was frightening, and of course, I also was a little skeptical, but then I took that plunge. I got the iPhone 13 Pro Max, I put in my main SIM, transferred all my data, and I started using the iPhone as my daily driver. Right off the bat, the battery life was something that really impressed me. I would start my day with 100% charge, and even after using it for several hours, I did not see the battery drop. It would still remain at 100% charge, and that was just mind-boggling because battery optimization on any Android phone can't even be compared with the iPhone. So coming back to my point, if you're also frustrated with your Android's battery life, iPhone is a good alternative, and you can also think about switching. The second reason why I decided to move to the iPhone was, of course, software optimization. All software on the iPhone runs smoother and better. It's just a fact, guys. I should never accept this fact when I didn't have the iPhone in my hand, when I just had the Android phone, and when my friends who use the iPhone said that apps work better on the phone, I didn't want to accept it and I just closed my mind to it. But now that I use it on a daily basis, yes, the apps are much smoother on the iPhone. Even social media apps like TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, they all work better on the iPhone. And that's because of the optimization. It's easier for app developers to optimize their app for the iPhone is because Apple makes the hardware and the software. They don't have numerous number of devices, and software developers can easily optimize their app for the limited number of iPhones that are out there in the market. Whereas on the Android side, it's a whole new story. There are multiple vendors who make Android phones, then they further customize Android as per their design philosophy, and there are also different sizes of Android phones available. So it's very difficult for an app developer to optimize their app to work smoothly on each and every Android phone out there. That's the reason why apps are always smoother on the iPhone. If you're a working professional, or you're a content creator, or a doctor, or you're specializing in your own field, it just makes sense for you to get the iPhone. And hear me out, guys. Getting the iPhone is going to increase your productivity. This doesn't just happen overnight with just your iPhone. I'm talking about when you get the entire ecosystem. If you get a Mac or an iPad or an Apple Watch and you have the iPhone, AirPods, the entire ecosystem just works. There's no alternative out there in the market. There's no Android company that gives you the same sort of flexibility and ecosystem. Yes, Samsung has the Samsung tablets and then the buds and the Samsung watch and the Samsung phone, but it's nowhere near the ecosystem of what Apple provides. The copy paste function, each and every item that is on your iPhone is easily available on your MacBook. You don't have to look for wires to connect and transfer the files. It's just seamless. And if you have the Apple ecosystem, your productivity is going to increase. It's a guarantee. So it makes more sense. Like if you're a college student and you have limited budget in your hand, getting an Android does make sense because you get fantastic Android phones at very reasonable budget prices. Whereas Apple has managed to set the iPhone as a premium product. They have made it extremely pricey, and it's not everyone's cup of tea to just go out there and buy an iPhone or the entire ecosystem because it's going to cost you a lot. I would also like to talk about software updates on the iPhone. Apple uses all premium materials on their phones and they build the product to last. And with excellent hardware comes excellent software support. They provide you software support for more than 5 years, and getting software updates on them is very seamless. Apple's iOS team is continuously working on adding new features every single month, and they keep releasing new versions almost every month, which is great. My experience in the Android side of things was not the same. Yes, they do provide monthly software patch updates, but that's not the same as adding new features. And in the Android world, adapting new software versions is much slower because it totally depends on companies like Samsung or Oppo or OnePlus implement these new software changes and then release it to the public. That's a slow process. Some budget-friendly phones like Micromax don't even provide you with any software update. So when you buy their phone, you're stuck with that particular software, which is crazy. So if you want regular updates and you want to have the latest and greatest feature on your phone, having an iPhone makes sense. Just a reminder, a quick like and subscribe to the channel will be fantastic. So go ahead, hit both of them. I also want to share my experience of how easy or seamless it was for me to move from Android to iPhone. In the past, this was a complete nightmare because you could not transfer your WhatsApp chats from an Android to an iPhone. It was not compatible, it was not allowed, and you would have to restart from the beginning, which is a pain, and that's the reason why I had not moved to iPhone several years back. There were many third-party softwares like Wondershare or Doctorphone with which you could buy a subscription and then use that particular software to transfer all your data, but that's a hack. And that's not something that every single one of you out there would prefer doing it. And even though I did try that system out and I knew that's how it works, I did not opt to move to an iPhone at that time because I just didn't find it seamless. And I was very scared that if I didn't like the ecosystem, moving back to an Android will be a pain, and I didn't do it. Now it's a whole different story. There's an app now which helps you move from an Android to iOS. You can download it on your Android phone. It's called Move to iOS. And using that application, it makes it easier for you to transfer your data from Android to iPhone. Furthermore, WhatsApp can now easily transfer its data from an Android to an iPhone. But there's of course a catch over here. You can only move your WhatsApp data when you're first setting up your iPhone. The first initial setup, that's the only time when you can select to move it. So yeah, that's a pain, but yes, it is possible. And it's something that every one of you out there can do it. It's not complicated at all. When you're setting it up, it just takes you through the entire process. It's all step by step. It's very easy to do. Now I'd like to share all the things that I hate. Now, hate is a strong word. Dislike about the iPhone. There are certain things where Android is still king and I miss it. But hear me out. Call recording is one feature that I really miss on the iPhone. I'm from India, guys, and in India, you're allowed to record your calls. Samsung gives it, and most of the Android phones that are available in India all have call recording feature. But Apple does not give this on their iPhone. I've reached out to them, I've sent them multiple feedback forms, but I've not got any concrete update from them, because I think that Apple is just not going to allow you to record calls on your phone. Third-party softwares also don't work. There's no alternative. Some options are there, but they're not as seamless as it is on the Android phone because it just automatically records all your calls. It's very handy to have that feature, and that's something that I really miss. The other thing that I really miss from my Android phone is having that dedicated back button. On the iPhone, going back is extremely complicated and I can't understand why it's not consistent. In some apps you can swipe from the left to go back. In the other apps you have to choose it from the top left corner. Some apps have it on the bottom left corner or the top right corner. It's not consistent, guys, and it really messes with you because when you're in a hurry and you're wanting to navigate in an app, you have to basically figure out how to go back, which is really confusing. Like in the Photos app, if you swipe from the left to right, you'll just be changing the photos. And if you want to go back, you have to swipe from up to down, and that'll minimize the photo. Of course, over time, you do get used to it, but it's not as easy as it's on the Android phone, which has a dedicated back button. So that's another thing that I really miss. The other feature that I really miss is, of course, call identification. I'm talking about an app called Truecaller. It's available for the iPhone, but it just does not work in the same way or the same level as it works on the Android phone. On an Android phone, when you get a call, whether it's a landline or a mobile or whatever, Truecaller just works. It pops up, it tells you who's calling, and in today's day, with the number of spam calls that have increased, you really need Truecaller to work. And on the iPhone, it just does not work in the same way. Most of the times, it does not even work. It doesn't pop up any name, and there is a workaround, of course, but it's an annoying workaround. You have to basically cut the call, copy the number, paste it into the Truecaller app, and the next time that number calls you, it will give you the name. But that's not how it's supposed to work. On the Android phone, it just pops up on each and every call without any delay, without any lag, and that's something that I really miss. When it comes to video, iPhone is king. There's no denying it. There's no competition out there, and no one is even close to Apple's video recording quality. Video recording had become a very important factor for me because 2.5 years ago, my wife and I, we had a son, and I loved taking videos of him. I want to capture each and every moment with him, and recording videos with your iPhone is just a whole new level. Trust me guys, I've done the comparisons and it's nowhere near. If video recording is important to you, it's a major factor for you to move to an iPhone. So now coming to the crux of the video, did I make the right choice of moving to an iPhone and ditching Android altogether? Well, yes. I think I've made the right choice, and there are certain things that I really miss about the Android phone, but my productivity has just increased ever since I've got the iPhone and the ecosystem. Like I mentioned in my video earlier, everything just works. I don't need to constantly reboot my devices. I don't face any bugs. Go for it guys. Get the iPhone. It will make things easier for you. Now that I've said this, I don't want a war to break out. I don't want you to start typing that, Android is better, iPhone sucks. When it's basically to each their own. And in my case and in my scenario, moving to the iPhone was extremely beneficial to me and I love it. But if you have an Android, there's nothing wrong with that. The numerous companies out there also make fantastic phones and they provide much better value, of course. The iPhone in India is ridiculously overpriced and that's a huge negative. Whereas Android phones are extremely value for money. So I want to know how many of you out there are using Android or iPhone. So please comment down. If you're using an Android, write Android. If you're using an iPhone, write iPhone. And of course, if you also want to say what you love about your device, I encourage that you comment and let me know. I hope this video was informational. I would really love it if you hit the like button and the subscribe button. It'll really help my channel grow and encourage me to keep doing this for you. See you in the next one.